This season honestly started off pretty wholesome. Reminds me of season 1, how it started pretty light before things went on a 180 in tone and appearance. Though, unlike the first season on how Subaru had to handle a lot of the things on his own, this season has an importance on handling things together, especially during the middle of this first core. Well, a lot of the first core was honestly setting things up for the second core. But before we can go into that fun future stuff, I think we should first go over what was shown to us in the first 8 episodes of Season 3. So, we shall go over everything: the opening, the ending, our protagonist, the witch cultists, mainly the Sin Archbishops of course, and the main theme that I gathered from this season's first core. So, let us begin. For the beginning and ending, the two look honestly beautiful. In all honesty, with all the visuals for this season, it's just amazing. I don't see anything that's glaring like in season 2. But for the opening and ending, let's go over first the opening. Rewave. The title itself, Rewave, meaning wave something such as yarn or cloth again or anew, which I mean, I don't think yarn or cloth are the main focus of this, so let's go with the anew part. What interests me of this first course seasons is Subaru hadn't died for over a year since, the whole rabbit stuff. And right off the bat, we do get like 3 deaths in like a row, but we remain in the same loop for 6 episodes. This gives a big indicator that the anew part of Rewave is how he's taking not only the return by death part, but also the entire situation in a different approach. Season 1 and Season 2 had Subaru try to handle things on his own, a mistake he nearly fell for again when he first looped this season. But the difference here is that he's starting to rely on his allies, seeing that all of his allies, like the big hitters, are literally in one place. That and having everyone taking on the witches cult, the Sin Archbishops, showing that this season's focus is definitely fighting against the worst of the worst, which is the Sin Archbishops. That's the opening. For the ending, it's a little bit of a reversal of the whole fighting and hopeful-ish sense we get from the opening. The ending starts pretty wholesome with the major players, only for it to go, completely dark, and how the Sin Archbishops have the advantage here, showing them at their element. This, along with how by the end we see Reinhardt and Subaru taking on Regulus, foreshadowing the last episode of the core, but also showing that alone Subaru would have lost. But with all those he cares about, his friends, allies, by his side, are how they'll overcome the current situation. On a personal note, I really like this ending. It feels oddly motivating. But yes, the ending was a showing how things seem hopeless at first, but we see that Subaru with his allies are able to break through the witches' cult together. For our protagonists, each of them really had their own moments to shine and their own low points. I'll kind of give each one at a time that are important mainly. I'm just mainly compiling the important ones, in my opinion, of course, for this core and what we got, basically. The first is Garfield Tinsel. He's come a long way from Season 2, having, though, an issue he's having is seeing Elsa herself and, being slightly harassed from her. Although, aside from that, there's also the fact that he just finds out that his mother's still alive, but doesn't remember anything, really. So, she has amnesia. And lastly, dealing with the fact that the opponents are just stronger than him. Something that does hurt his pride, since he's supposed to be Emilia's shield. The one that can take on anybody and come out on top. When backtracking to season 2, Garfield didn't really beat Elsa in the traditional sense, since she was really caught off guard in one of the attacks that would have for sure have been the end for him, and this gave him an opening to beat her in a sense, overpower her. And this was told by Elsa, that she's saying that he got lucky. Reinhardt is obviously too fucking strong for Garfield to beat, although I do think that he has the potential to reach him. And then there's the duo of the dead warrior cultists, Kurgan and Teresia, that had caused Mimi to get hurt. And Garfield also got hurt too, but not as bad as Mimi, which obviously gives him an immense guilt. Now, him going with Wilhelm to fight them is to get payback. And this is important for Garfield, since he needs to be able to beat Kurgan in order to start heading towards the path of being the strongest, and to also avenge Mimi. Aldebaran, or Al. I don't want to go too in depth with him, since I am doing another special video for him, but I will say this: he's been a bro, helping out his bro and giving crucial information that benefits in the future, as well as doing an action that does also save the others' asses. That's all I'll say with them. Next is the Estrella family, since they each kinda have important storylines that intertwine with a single Von Estrella that's come back into the picture, Teresia Von Estrella. Before getting with how her involvement really does put all three of them in a collision course with one another, the first that needs to be addressed is Heinkel Estrella. His involvement in this arc is nothing more than antagonizing towards Reinhard and Wilhelm, having a grudge, with more specifically towards Reinhard, though he uses him to protect him from all the chaos that's going on by using Felt as a hostage. This does get thwarted by a combination of Otto and Reinhard, but he's still out there up to something. For Reinhard, it's definitely a lot of family issues, though those won't be tackled a lot until after the fight with Greed, since he's helping Subaru in dealing with the strongest Sin Archbishop of the Witches cult, which is fitting because he is literally the strongest goddamn character in ReZero. And then for Wilhelm, he's not only attempting to fix a mistake of his past, being the rift he created with his grandson for blaming him for his wife's death, but also upon realizing that she's out there, he needs to be the one to defeat her. Since Teresia and her dying sort of broke the Estrella family, her back in the picture is, well, something of concerns that we need to definitely pay attention. The royal candidates outside of Amelia. Each of them have their own thing going on, sort of. We do have the most coming from Krush and Priscilla, with Felt and Anastasia mainly being there and slightly in the sidelines due to, well, Anastasia does have a big importance because she invited everyone but Priscilla to the Watergate City, though it is worth noting that Felt, although she didn't get as much of things aside from being a hostage, she will definitely get a lot more to do next Cour, and Anastasia has been acting pretty shady for the most part. Now, I do want to tackle the Cruise portion of this subsection, that being how she's still suffering the amnesia thanks to Lai Batankaitos, but we get to see that even without those memories, she does still show a badass side, since she had been training with Wilhelm to hone her skills again, which shows that she has potential in terms of combat, and her leadership doesn't seem like it's unwavering, though she does act more feminine, which has been noted. And she still cares for others than herself when this is shown when Subaru wants to take all of the blood that Capella, the dragon blood that she gave both of them, and that he's the only one that can get all that burden out of her, and she didn't want Subaru to sacrifice himself for her sake. She was also someone who wanted to help the imprisoned people Capella had before being defeated by Lust as well. Kind of jumping around, but it's to show Krush, like, despite with the memory loss, she is still pretty badass in her own right. And then Priscilla. Priscilla is just kind of her own person, who controls her own destiny, considering that she arrived to the meeting that she shouldn't know about, was able to easily tell that something was wrong with Subaru, both in episode 2 and in episode 6 with his leg and how it can heal, took care of the weird-ass looking mob beast on her own, and was able to tell just by her own genius that Liliana was the right person to bring along in order to deal with Wrath's authority effect. She's just kinda built a bit different. The next one is going to be Amelia, someone I definitely can't help but say is continuing to be a good protagonist, as I mentioned in her own dedicated video before season 3 even aired. In this season, she does her own quest of trying to find a way to get Puck back, although also showing that when there is trouble, she wants to be there to help Subaru or whoever is in danger. Yeah, she does have her like oblivious moments, like the whole virgin thing, and even though Subaru was acting off during episode 2, it took Priscilla to kind of give her a little nudge to help him out. First one literally has established that Amelia has been sheltered by everyone about that sort of stuff in the Amelia camp. Even in the last break time, is shown that even with like Crucian and Anastasia teasing on just how Amelia is kind of oblivious to certain things. But as for the other one, she's grown to trust her knight in handling himself, though it's not like she didn't suspect something was off him. It's just she trusts him, though it just helps her make the right choice in assisting him when someone like Priscilla had noted that she should help him out. Now, there's also her taking initiative when being captured by Regulus, saving wife 174, I think, managing to gain important, crucial information that helps Subaru and the others, is able to try to actually break through the 174 wife because she's still in that little depressed state. And she even stands up to Regulus, despite how he can literally kill her within seconds. And that little speech of sorts in regards to love is just amazing. How she still doesn't know how to love as a woman, like really is, but there's a hint that if there's anybody she'll love someone like that, it'll be with her knight Natsuki Subaru. Now, for the last one on this section is Natsuki Subaru, the man, the myth, the legend. With him being shown to be training in the beginning of this season, which shows that he's growing stronger within his own right, gaining some new unique abilities with Beatrice, as shown when they were up against Regulus, and that his spirit is strong, especially when fighting alongside others, as he's able to participate in fights and even handle taking pretty strong hits. Now, he does die 3 brutal deaths from Sirius, and then ends up gaining her as a stalker, as she now believes that he's Betelgeuse because he used Invincible Providence. This is a problem, but not one he has to deal with right now, but one that he'll eventually need to deal with. As for the main focus of Subaru, it is mainly against Regulus. The two are two sides of the same coin in regards of going after Amelia for different reasons. One is being genuine and genuinely loves her, while the other one is a complete other shitbag and has shit reasons for it. Though it's funny how the two met in somewhat okay terms, only for it to take a 180 turn into arch enemies, more than Betelgeuse and Subaru were, since he's beyond being slothful at this point, and it's now about being greedy, like how Echidna had determined he was at the end of his last tea party. It's fitting that he'd be the one to motivate people, as we're kind of moving along, because aside from being a rare person that defeated a Sin Archbishop, he's also like them, weak, scared, and very human. He's exactly like them, and yet he shows that he won't run away. That is what Natsuki Subaru is, the most determined wild card of the Amelia camp, and of course, Amelia's knight. For our antagonist, it's honestly a lot of them for this go around. The Sin Archbishops. The first one being the Gluttony duo. They don't do much for now aside from one of them pissing off Subaru upon identifying themselves as Gluttony, and the other one nearly killing our precious boy Otto, Suen. They definitely will play a larger role later on, since we are still in Arc 5. Though, if there's something about them, it's that it's going to get intense with these two. Sirius, Romani Conti, the Sin Archbishop of Wrath, is a unique one since she kicked everything off with literally yeeting a kid to his end. Now, her interactions are odd at first, and she's acting pretty chill, pretty go-happy and goodish, though don't be fooled, she is forcing everyone to feel what she's feeling currently, seeing how everyone was also acting the same way she was. It's not until Amelia gets involved that her attitude, interestingly enough, fits her title of Wrath. This kind of shows how Amelia, outside of Amelia, she acts like a kind person, though if we're talking about Betelgeuse, that is a whole separate topic. Though her fighting style is pretty interesting when seeing the so-called fight against Reinhardt that she had in the third loop. Now, after the 4 episodes, she kinda disappears a bit into the background until attacking Anastasia and is halted by TV and Hetero. And then after this, she's kinda causing trouble, as I said, in the background, since her ability is a literal city range, and each person in the shelter, everyone in the city that's within her range, is being affected by her ability, which shows just how dangerous she is, especially if she sees Amelia. Oh god, if she sees Amelia, it's game over. Regulus Cornea, Sin Archbishop of Greed, is honestly an asshole, but an expected one since his whole my rights thing is honestly annoying. His ranting is more annoying in writing, but actor did pretty damn well. And he is fucking overpowered as well. So with him, it's what happens when you give the most arrogant man who thinks himself the king of the world a power that 99.99% of characters can't overcome in a head-to-head fight. This is problematic when facing him, which makes it interesting when you have the most broken characters, Natsuki Subaru and Reinhardt von Estrella, to be the ones to deal with him. There's also his whole thing about how having wives have to be virgins, showing how greedy he is since he wants all these wives, but he wants them to act literally like with dead faces. No, take away their freedom, take away their ability to smile, cry, have joy, feel sadness, anything that's not plain expression. That's just a living hell. Not to mention how he is a contrast to current Natsuki Subaru, the two being greedy in different ways. He is definitely a threat, one that I am personally excited to see be taken down. Lastly, Capella Emerada Lagunica, the Sin Archbishop of Lust, and the most evil and twisted of all the Sin Archbishops, is honestly a little menace. With her shape-shifting ability, on not just herself but on others, her regeneration, and her intellect, all of this makes her quite the dangerous person to deal with. Considering that she turned someone into a dragon, her hostages into bugs, gave Krush and Subaru dragon blood that was not only causing them pain, but had left both of them scarred in different ways, and can even change into anybody, especially the person that one desires. All of this and her completely twisted and evil mental state, yeah, she's no joke. Although Regulus is the strongest Sin Archbishop, she's the most twisted one out of all the Sin Archbishops. She's definitely going to take a shit lot more to take down. On a last note, these Sin Archbishops don't like each other. Although they are working together because their gospel sorta led them all together, they hate each other and would rather not deal with the others and do their own thing, as well as probably kill each other if given the chance. This is how different they are compared to our protagonists, our heroes, how they are strong together compared to these Sin Archbishops who honestly think themselves strong because they can handle whatever comes at them according to themselves. There are a few battles we should go over. The first was a cut content of Subaru versus Sirius in the second loop, where Subaru was pretty skilled enough to temporarily overpower Sirius, or at least outwit her, and to try to save the boy, only for her authority to literally lead to his death. Although cut content, it's good to tell because we miss seeing this Subaru that can handle himself okay against the Sin Archbishop for like a limited time. The next fight is Reinhardt versus Sirius. Well, if you fight is calling it very graciously, but more like a one-sided beatdown. Though granted, Sirius got the last laugh, per se, since her ability was able to just have Reinhardt not only kill this crazy bitch, but literally drag everyone with her, especially his friend Natsuki Subaru, which is the third failed loop. Emilia versus Sirius is a nice touch of just fire versus ice kind of thing. Amazing choreography, especially when we see Emilia using like interesting techniques with her ice abilities, which, man, that it's pretty interesting how capable of fighter she is on her own. And I think had Sirius not brought up her little hostage as a distraction, I do think Emilia would have been able to beat Wrath on her own. Sirius versus Regulus? I honestly don't think that this should be considered a fight, but I want to mention that since Wrath is just throwing a hissy fit and attacking Regulus, it's kind of funny that anything she does, it doesn't phase him or affect him by any matter. Yet, with the temporary Subaru and Beatrice versus Regulus kind of fight, since we're combining the two, Subaru was kind of able to negate Regulus's attack and then land one of his own, like actually land a hit. And yeah, that's pretty cool from Subaru because it kind of shows that he's capable of beating Regulus. It's just unfortunately that it wasn't here because his leg kind of got screwed. Garfield and Mimi sort of fighting against Kurgan and Teresia was more of a desperate attempt to just land a strong hit before making a run for it. And although the two do somewhat hold their own, it is unfortunately that the two were just outmatched since it did result in Mimi nearly being killed. Now, Subaru, Julius, Cruz, Ricardo, Wilhelm, and Garfield all working together to face Kurgan and Teresia is just pure amazingness. A big, strong group, everyone doing their best, and actually almost managing to kill one of them. Kurgan mainly. If they all just fought one of them, regardless of the two, I guarantee you the group would have been successful in defeating these strong undead warriors, like individually. Now, this fight is also how Wilhelm for sure found out that his wife was around, since he was fighting her and would recognize her fighting abilities and the way she fights. I will also add a bit of Capella here, only because this is where we saw her in her dragon form, but we also saw her regenerate, which is a damn problem. Roy Alphard taking on Subaru, Julius, and Cruz. Now, this is kind of a small skirmish fight, though it does add some tension since Subaru found Gluttony. The wrong Gluttony. Though he doesn't know that he's fighting the wrong brother, since the same one that caused Rem and Cruz's current states is the one that's trying to kill Otto. Still worth mentioning. I think this is a little stretch to call this a fight, because Subaru and Cruz facing Lust is not a fight, since the two get easily overpowered by her. Yet, I will say that Subaru did an amazing job in landing damage and somewhat like surviving a hit. But let's be real, if she wanted both of them to be dead, they would have. Now, although this is an unorthodox thing, the Mosbys facing the dragon, like the two curses, fighting inside of Subaru, is important since it's the reason why Subaru didn't suffer the same fate as Cruz, but also gained what seems to be a regenerative ability. Priscilla's one-sided fight against the mobbies is worth also mentioning because it really shows this beautiful sun princess going like amazingly using her sword in such a way that shows that she's not someone to mess around with and that she can take care of herself. The last technical fight before leading what'll be the setup of Subaru and Reinhardt versus Regulus Corneas for the next score, it's Emilia and Regulus's argument in the relation of marriage, sort of. It's not a full argument, but it's two different ideologies fighting each other, because Emilia knows how special marriage is between two special people, and Regulus clearly doesn't understand this. And honestly, he's a scumbag. He doesn't have a grasp of love. It's more superficial, if that's the word I want to go with. And the thing is, a cut content as well on this final episode of the Cour is Emilia was prepared to fight Regulus, unlike in the anime that they kind of made it like Emilia was prepared to die for some reason. All of these fights, some technical, some one-sided, have their meaning with the characters that are involved, improving not only their storylines but their character development and just showing how badass each of them are in their own right. I know people will interpret things differently for this section, so this is more of my personal thoughts of the theme for the first Cour specifically. This Cour was honestly more of hope in the darkest times, since no matter how shitty things had gotten over the Cour with the Witch's Cult gaining advantage over the city, with all 5 candidates being in the mix of their schemes, there were moments where the light of hope, the light within darkness, just kept shining. With the biggest example is Subaru showing it, like his speech to everyone in the city being like a big light that's the game changer. And Emilia's like thoughts of loving Subaru one day and how love is also a highlight, because I think another theme I can see is standing one's ground, since a lot of this is literally the heroes, the protagonist side, like they're standing their ground. They're not letting the Sin Archbishops control everything. And now we've come to this section. A lot of interesting plots are coming in the next Cour. My favorite one being the Subaru and Reinhardt beat the ever-living shit out of Regulus. That's where I'm more excited on. Emilia saving Regulus's wives is going to be an important thing, since she was trying to save 174, not just physically but mentally. Garfield getting the greatest moment of strength against Kurgan. The plot with all the Estrella members, since the whole family mess is kind of needs its own video. Julius and Ricardo taking on a Gluttony, which I kind of feel bad because I didn't mention them a lot in this video. But yeah, they're gonna take on Gluttony. And what is Anastasia hiding? Like, she is definitely hiding something. And lastly, Priscilla with Liliana taking on Sirius. All of this and more are what we should be looking forward to, since things haven't gone to the craziest point just yet. And I bet you that things will go from a 100 to a 1000 out of 10 in a rating system for the next episodes to come by in February. And I am confident and kind of hoping that that'll happen, that it'll be the highest rating stuff. But overall, this season's first Cour did its job. The Witch Cultists having the advantage, the attack advantage, as well as lore stuff coming in, with the second Cour being the counterattack on the Witch's Cult. I personally enjoyed this season's first Cour, but I hope you all also enjoyed it as well. And let me know what your thoughts are of the first Cour and what you're looking forward to in the second Cour. Anyway, this is Going Warrington, one sitting up. Peace.